Canine Calorie Control is a specialised dietary dry biscuit feed that helps your dog to cut those extra pounds. With regular exercise, this food will aid in weight loss whilst keeping your pet well nourished and making sure that they still look forward to dinner time. Canine Calorie Control is also designed to help prevent dry skin, promote a healthy coat and control bad breath through the use of coconut oil. Canine Calorie Control contains suitable amounts of each nutrient to keep your dog fit and healthy, with 22% crude protein, 3% crude fibres and 7% crude ash. Canine Calorie Control contains the average amount of nutrients for a dry maintenance dog food. However, what makes Canine Calorie Control a light food is the much lowered quantity of crude oils, with only 7% in comparison of the average 14 to 20% crude oil in super premium maintenance feeds.
Nutrients are described as components of food that are able to be utilised by the body. There are 6 nutrients required in the diet, including water, carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, vitamins and minerals. Water molecules are composed of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. Water has a high specific heat capacity. Another property of water is that it has a high latent heat of evaporation, which makes water very useful to remove heat from the dog's body via evaporation when panting. Carbohydrates include the elements carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. They can be classified into simple and complex. Simple carbohydrates are monosaccharides, with the most simple one being glucose. They have between 3 and 7 carbon atoms, can dissolve easily in water, and slight differences in their structure produces very different properties such as taste. Monosaccharides can be linked together by glycosidic bonds to produce disaccharides, trisaccharides and polysaccharides. Proteins contain the elements carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen and sometimes sulfur. All proteins contain approximately 16% nitrogen. Proteins are made from around 20 different amino acids joined together by peptide bonds. All amino acids have a similar structure, which is an amino group, a carboxyl group and an R group, which is different in all amino acids. Proteins have a primary structure, secondary structure, tertiary structure and quaternary structure. Fats and oils have the same general structure but have different chemical and physical properties. Oils are liquid at room temperature and are more chemically reactive, whereas fats are a solid at room temperature and act as thermal insulator. Properties of lipids are that they are relatively insoluble in water, insulators of heat and are hydrolyzed by a lipase. Simple lipids are triglycerides, which are composed of 1 glycerol molecule and 3 fatty acid chains attached by a condensation reaction. Fatty acids are composed of a chain of carbon atoms with hydrogen attached. They are between 14 and 22 carbon atoms long, with a carboxyl group at one end and a methyl group at the other end. Vitamins are organic compounds that are chemically unrelated and are required in small amounts in the body for normal growth and maintenance. They are classified into fat-soluble and water-soluble vitamins. The fat-soluble vitamins are A, D, E and K, and the water-soluble vitamins are B and C. Minerals are inorganic substances found in rocks, soil and water. Macrominerals are needed in the body in grams, whereas microminerals are only required in micrograms. Minerals have a number of functions including skeletal support, nerve transmission, muscle contraction and components of transport proteins and some hormones.
Digestion starts in the mouth where it is chewed to form a bolus. This is known as mechanical digestion. The natural diet of a dog is low in starch and therefore their saliva doesn't contain amylase. After the food is swallowed, chemical digestion takes place. It is the splitting of nutrients by hydrolysis and it begins in the stomach. Chemical digestion of protein starts in the stomach, where pepsin hydrolyzes proteins into dipeptides and a few amino acids. From here, chyme passes through the pyloric sphincter into the small intestine. Efficiency of nutrient absorption is highest in the small intestine due to villi and microvilli that increase the surface area. Here, aminopeptidase breaks the peptide bonds in dipeptides to create single amino acids which are then absorbed. Fats and oils are also absorbed in the small intestine. Pancreatic lipase and amylase is released into the lumen to hydrolyze dietary fat into essential fatty acids, monoglycerides and diglycerides before they are absorbed by passive diffusion. The maximum absorption of fat occurs in the jejunum of the small intestine. Cells in microvilli secrete maltase, lactase and sucrase, which convert disaccharides into the simple sugars glucose, galactose and fructose. Final digestion of carbohydrates occurs at the brush border in the small intestine, where they are actively absorbed by a carrier protein. Vitamins and minerals are absorbed in an ionic form. Water-soluble vitamins are absorbed by either carrier-mediated transport or simple diffusion. Fat-soluble vitamins are combined with bile salts before they are able to be passively absorbed through intestinal mucosa. Food then passes from the small intestine to the large intestine via the ileocecal valve. Dietary fibre is digested in the cecum by intestinal bacteria, but only about 8% of total digestion occurs in the large intestine, as mainly water and electrolytes are absorbed here, but the percentage will increase with diets containing starch and legumes.
Adult dogs should be fed food that is formulated for their life stage, activity level and breed size. Dogs can easily become overweight by over-consuming food, and high palatable foods contribute to dogs overeating. Semi-moist and canned foods contain simple sugars and lots of fat that contribute to palatability. For overweight dogs, dry food is preferred to canned or semi-moist food as it's less calorically dense and contains less fat. An overweight dog's food intake should be regulated by providing 2 or more pre-measured meals at regular times each day. It should have a negative energy balance, which means the dietary intake should be restricted and energy expenditure increased by increasing exercise. The normal calorific requirement of the dog should be reduced by 40% for safe weight loss.
Fat should be reduced in the diet as it is twice as energy dense as protein and carbohydrates. Light dog foods have between 6 and 11% fat. Canine Calorie Control has 7% fat, so is low. However, the dog still needs essential fatty acids for good health and coat condition. Weight loss diets can have added oil to provide these, for example coconut oil. The minimum requirement for adult dogs is 5% fat. The protein in the diet could be increased slightly as it improves body composition. More body fat is lost, but lean body tissue loss is minimised. The protein in the diet needs to be high quality to supply all of the essential amino acids.
Complex digestible carbohydrates are required more in an overweight dog's diet as they increase the bulk of food but reduce the total calories, helping to create a feeling of fullness. Vitamin E is important for helping to remove fat stores in the body, and the minimum requirement is 50 international units per kilogram. Vitamin A requirements for all life stages is 5,000 international units per kilogram of diet, and vitamin D requirements is 500 international units per kilogram of diet. The mineral requirements of calcium is 0.6% and for phosphorus is 0.5%. L-carnitine is an amino acid derivative essential for the metabolism of fatty acids for energy. If supplemented, it can enhance weight loss and reduce body fat.
Woody and Jessie had a bad start in life. They were fed an unsuitable diet that made them overweight and unhealthy. Now they are fed Canine Calorie Control and they are healthy and a suitable weight.
I recommend Canine Calorie Control as it keeps my dog happy and healthy. Canine Calorie Control.
Complete dog food
With chicken.
Canine Calorie Control. Buy it now.